Hey, aloha from Kauai, Hawaii. This is Mark Januszewski, World's Laziest Networker. I'm here with the incredible multi-million dollar earner. She's not just in the MDC club, Million Dollar Earner Club. She's a multi-million dollar earner. I actually had the pleasure of working and getting mentored by Sandi Cohen, who's currently in Las Vegas. And I think the tremendous part that appealed to me is Sandi identified a great company out of Utah, Zango, and was one of the pioneers with them, one of the what they call the Sweet 16 at Zango, which was the first 16 to hit 200K. And out of over 1.5 million reps, she's in the top 13 earners. There's only 13 500Ks, which is basically a year's pay every month. So, Sandi, thanks for taking time out of your day. The thing about your story that really blew me away is I saw a video of you and Ed had gone from driving Rolls Royces, owning 5 pharmacies, and involved in the medical community to be basically eating beans for Thanksgiving. So why don't you pick your story up there, tell us how you got in networking, and then we'll get to some questions.
Well, just to clarify a little bit, Mark, if I may, because I always try to be as accurate as we can.
Okay.
And this 16 was actually the first 16 businesses that hit premier that first year.
Wow.
And as you know, if you know anything about Zango and its compensation plan and the 6 owners, they always under-promise and over-deliver. And instead of 16 couples, there were actually 27 couples that hit it that first year. And even though the contest was only 16 couples, they took all 27, and now they go twice a year. So I just wanted to clarify that because people may know that. But, you know, it's interesting that network marketing, multi-level marketing, direct sales, whatever you want to call it, has been around for decades and decades and decades. And I got to admit, I was a snob. You know, I had been approached over the years, and there was no way I was going to do network marketing because my vision of someone who did network marketing was going door-to-door Avon calling or selling fuller brushes. You know, it was, you know, something that, you know, people at our level just didn't do. You know, we come from traditional business. Ed's a pharmacist. In fact, just so you know, we're celebrating our 49th wedding anniversary in a few weeks. And that's to each other. That's not cumulative. Of course, I got married when I was 2 years old.
Right.
But anyway, we did really, really well in traditional business. And as most people know, the majority of traditional businesses fail because of the tremendous overhead and the burden. You know, we had 36 employees, $500,000 in inventory, $1 million in receivables. We worked very hard, but we obviously reaped the rewards of working hard. You know, the 10,000 square foot home, the English houseman, the cook from Grand Cayman, the rolls, the stretch limo. In fact, we were just looking at pictures today when I was 40, so a few years ago. And not only did I look fabulous,
right,
but that was the highlight of our life and never thought it would go away. But the one thing we all learn as we get older, life can definitely be uncertain and unpredictable, and change often happens to many. And in 1986, due to some regulatory changes in healthcare with managed care, Pennsylvania Blue Shield, where we resided, was about 80% of our business, and they had to change hardware, software, retrain personnel. But it was a year with no cash flow.
Wow.
So just imagine 36 employees who expect to get paid every Friday. You have no money coming in.
Wow.
And that was the year Eddie turned gray from stress. We never missed a payroll. We never lost an account, but we decided to sell the business that year. And we sold to a group of private investors who took over and then defaulted and did not pay us. And so began an 8-year nightmare in the court system. And in Philadelphia, it's one of the worst in the country. It took us 8 years to get into court. So when you relay that story about, you know, hot dog and beans, the reality is we didn't have the beans. We only had the hot dogs.
Right.
Somebody embellished it with beans, but
right,
we couldn't even afford the beans that went with the hot dogs that particular Thanksgiving. And that's when, you know, Eddie and I looked at each other and said, what in the world are we going to do? How are we going to get out of this mess? And we moved to Phoenix, Arizona to start all over again because I figured, you know, if I have to start over at the age of 52, at least I'd rather be warm than cold. because we hated the winters of Philadelphia. You can relate to that from where you're from. And we moved into a little apartment. We had to share a 9-year-old car with no air conditioning in the summer. And I remember the passenger side didn't have power, the car didn't have power windows. It had those roll-up windows.
Right.
And you never put the window down because then you couldn't get it up again. And my mother took sick with breast cancer and Alzheimer's, and we brought her from Florida to Phoenix to live with us. 5 years being diapered, tube fed, and suction while we were going through the litigation. And that's how I got into network marketing, because somebody sat down with me and said, what options do you have? I mean, even though we won in court many years later, the only winners were the attorneys. By the time they got their piece of the action, we were dead broke, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And somebody said to me, take a close look at this industry, because it creates more millionaires than medicine, than real estate, than insurance. And you can get involved with for a very small investment if you're willing to help other people and go through some learning skills. Right. Because obviously, I was always the boss. I was in control.
Sure.
Very different than this industry. And the first 3 years, failing was not as frightening as going to get a job for somebody else, because I couldn't go back to teaching school. In Arizona, they only paid teachers about $25,000 a year, and we needed more than that in a month to get out of debt.
Right.
And so began my journey. And Mark, very often people get involved in this industry because of a story. Everybody's got a story. You don't
Sure.
wake up one day and just say, oh, today I think I'm going to be a network marketer. Something in your life has created a sense of urgency, a sense of I'm sick and tired of the way things are. I'm sick and tired of not being in control. I'm sick and tired of maybe not having enough time with family. I'm sick and tired of looking at my paycheck and seeing this huge chunk taken out for taxes when Congress passed laws in 2005 that says if you have a home-based business, doesn't say you have to be profitable. It says you have to intend to profit.
Right.
You can keep that money instead of giving it to Uncle Sam and actually use that $400 or $500 a month that you'd be normally not have. Use it for your business to build your own freedom. The reality is, if people really understood the power that Congress gave us to be independent business owners and the tax advantages, there isn't anyone who wouldn't have a home-based business, because the IRS only requires maybe 3 to 5 hours a week on a consistent and regular basis.
Right.
And then instead of as a wage earner where you're only eligible for about 3 tax deductions,
Right.
you're eligible for over 157 tax deductions, just like Bill Gates and Michael Dell and all the big businesses.
Right.
So people really, really need to understand why they need a home-based business, not just for their own financial freedom, but obviously keep more of what they make.
Right. Well, one of the things that, I was raised by an IRS agent, so I get that. And anybody can fund their business through the tax benefits, plus have a few extra bucks. And like yourself, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never met anybody that said, honey, things are going great. We got the time and money. Let's try network marketing. So most of us limp in here. So